Hi, everyone. Welcome back to audio recording class. My name is McKay Tabs, and I'm really excited to bring you your next Pro Tools lesson today. Today, we will be talking about track and clip processing workflows, and we will be talking about such exciting topics as track freeze, track commit, what they are and how to do them and how to know when to do them, also track bounce. And we're also going to be talking about clip gain and how you can use that to your advantage. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here is my session, and the first thing we're going to talk about today is track freeze. So, first of all, when do you use track freeze? Well, track freeze is something you use when you have a track that has lots of plugins on it, and your computer has a hard time processing that. And actually, more than just a track, you have many tracks with many plugins on it. And so, what can happen is your computer has a hard time processing it. Latency occurs to where you're trying to play things back and there's a delay, or you get these little error message boxes popping up when you're playing something and it stops and it won't play your song. So, anyway, so there's processing power that your computer has, and every time you add a plug into it, that soaks up that processing power. So, wouldn't it be nice to somehow alleviate that processing power so that your computer can do its job while you're working on certain tracks, but also still have the plug-in effect and sounds that you want on that track? And that's what track freezing is all about. So here in this session, I have this track here. It's got a lot of inserts on it already. And these other tracks over here don't really have any inserts, but imagine if they did, and that's when it gets cumbersome for your session to be able to process things. So I'm going to come over here to that track, um, my guitar track, and I'm just going to come here and press this little snowflake icon. This is the track freeze button. Right now it says not frozen. If I push it, it's going to change colors and it's going to freeze the track. So now it's white with a blue snowflake inside, and now it's frozen. To unfreeze it, you're going to simply push that again. Whoops. So there it is. So I pushed it again, and now it's unfrozen. Now I want to freeze it one more time and watch the dialog box that comes up. See how it says rendering guitar lead? That word render, that may sound familiar to you because there is a folder called the rendered files folder. And every time you freeze a track, it essentially renders that track and stores it in that file in your session. So if we come back here to my Pro Tools folder, here's my rendered files folder, and here we can see that it just saved a version of my frozen track there in this rendered files folder. So anyway, that is one way that you freeze. Another way that you freeze is to right click. So I'm going to just take the track name, I'm going to right click, and when I do that, it opens up this sub menu, and there is freeze again. So I can freeze right there, and now that track is frozen. I can also come up here to the track menu, and well, I'm going to unfreeze it again. But I can also come up here to the track menu, and from this, I can select freeze too. So there's a freeze up here in the track menu that will help you to do it. And voila. So there's lots of different ways, but maybe the easiest way is just to look at that little icon. It's a snowflake. It means freeze, and you're freezing your track. The cool thing is when your track is frozen, the plugins will still sound on that track. Isn't that cool? So that's what's going on there. Now come up here to the top. We have the status indicators. Here's a solo status indicator. Here's the mute status indicator. And right next to that is the frozen status indicator or the freeze status indicator. So you can immediately know if you have any frozen tracks in your session by looking up here. But one thing that's really cool is if you hold down Option while you click on that, it will automatically freeze all freezable tracks in your session. So I'm going to hold down Option, I'm going to click on it, and now it's rendering tracks. It's going to take it a second because there's a lot of tracks here. But at the end of all this, you'll see that now all my tracks are frozen in the session. As I scroll up and down, I can see that frozen icon here on all of them. So, sometimes that might be a time saver, but you could also unfreeze them all at the same time, once again, by holding down Option and clicking on that freeze status indicator. So I'm going to do that right now, holding down Option, clicking on it, and now they're all unfrozen. So using frozen tracks can be very helpful as you're working in a session, because it can take the tracks you're done working on and then allow you to focus the processing power on the new tracks you are working on. So freezing tracks is a very powerful tool to be able to use, but there's another powerful tool that's good to know about, and that helps you a lot when you're trying to collaborate with other people and share your work with others. Not everybody has the same plugins that you have. So when you're sharing your work with other people, it's common that they open up your session and they don't hear the processing because they don't have those plugins. So the cool thing about track commit is when you commit a track, it automatically takes those plugins and applies it to that track. So that track will now sound like those plugins are there, even though you don't have any inserts on the track. So it can be a very great way to collaborate with other people and share tracks. It can be a good way to submit your assignments in this class so that when I open your assignment, I will make sure I can hear it the way you intended because you committed the track. So I can hear the plugin, the effect that you have, because I might not have the same plugins that you have. So anyway, the easiest way to commit a track is by coming and selecting your track and then right-clicking and selecting commit. You get this little commit tracks dialog box opening where you can customize some of the settings, and you push OK. And at the end of that, it commits your track. So here is my committed track right underneath the track that I was starting from. Notice that a committed track starts with or includes the letters CM for committed. So this is now a committed track. And if I look over here at the clip, I can also see that it includes that CM in the name of the clip as well. So that's how you know a track's been committed. It's going to have that CM in the nameplate. There's another way to commit tracks as well, and that is by coming up here to the track menu, and you come up to track, and then you select commit. And then once again, get the dialog box opening, and it will commit a track. But there's another way to commit a track, and it is using the keyboard command that is Shift Option C. So I'm going to come up over here to this track right here, and I'm going to hold down Shift Option C. Once again, I get that dialog box opening up, and I can commit that track. So Shift Option C. Go ahead and try that keyboard shortcut a couple times. Shift Option C, and just make sure you can do it and you start. Here I am practicing it. Shift Option C, Shift Option C. It's likely to see a question on the test that talks about that. So anyway, committing a track can be a very awesome way to share it with other people, because look what happens. Here's my original track up here on top, guitar chords. You can see my original track has the added plugins. Here's my committed track. You can see there are no plugins on it. They sound exactly the same. And that's what's cool about doing these committed tracks, is it keeps the plugin effects on them without having the inserts on them. Once again, that could be a way to save processing power, but really it's a more powerful thing you could do to collaborate with people and to make sure they're hearing what you want them to hear when they open up your session. So you can also bounce a track. Now, you're probably already familiar with bouncing when it comes to bouncing the whole mix, your whole song at the end. You come to the file menu, you go to bounce mix, and then you get this opening. And when you do that, you're going to mix all the clips, all the tracks together and get one big composite sound of your whole song. But it's also possible to bounce a track instead of the whole mix. And when you do that, you just select the track you want to bounce, you right click and select bounce. Notice you get this same memory here, or sorry, the same message box here. So you want to name it. And then look where it's going to save. That's going to end up saving in your bounced files folder, just like your normal bounced mix would do. and you hit bounce, and there you go. And so now it's going to bounce not a mix, but it's going to bounce that single track out so that you can use that to work with other people. I'm going to go ahead and stop that bounce because it's going to take another 4.5 minutes to complete it. But bouncing your track can be a very effective way to work with other people as well. And there is a keyboard command to help you to bounce your tracks a little bit quicker, and that is Shift Option Command B for bounce. So when you do Shift Option Command B, you get the track bounce box opening up so that you can select a track and then Shift Option Command B. Let's go ahead and practice that one a couple of times. Shift Option Command B. And just practice opening up your bounce a track dialog box. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about today in this video is clip gain. And before I do, I just want to illustrate the concept of pre-fader versus post-fader. Now, usually when you want to boost the volume on a track, you come here to the mix window and you lift up the fader on that track. And when you lift the fader up, that's what boosts the volume. Well, wouldn't it be great if the track itself could just be louder before you have to raise the fader and boost it up? And that's what clip gain is all about. This fader is post fader. It's at the end of the mix. So when you work with clip gain, it's pre-fader. So it's before the signal gets to this point in the mix, it boosts up the overall volume. So to access the clip gain, first of all, we're going to come over here to the view menu, and we're going to come and we're going to select it. So you go to view, clip, and then we're going to go to clip gain info. And when you do that, it turns on this clip gain info, and you can, the clip gain info has a little icon of a fader, and you click on that, and suddenly there is a fader. And look what happens. You can raise it up or down. And when you do this, you see the waveform adjust, essentially getting louder than what it was, or getting softer, depending on how you want to drag it up or down. But this is your clip gain, and this is how you can change it. So when I drag this clip gain up, I'm making the signal louder pre-fader, going into all the effects, all the inserts, all the processing. It makes the overall signal louder. So anyway, but this could be a very effective tool to use if there's something you're working on that is soft and loud. For example, let's say that this part right here was too loud and I wanted to make it softer. I can come in here and just make that one section softer. Or maybe, maybe that's the case for this next part. Make a selection and you can just make one part softer. Now notice there's a line here called the clip gain line that I'm already working on and affecting as I'm doing that. Once again, by going to view and then clip, you can have the clip gain line pop up. I just turned it off. But those two things kind of go hand in hand. The icon in the bottom is the clip gain info. And then the line on it is the clip gain line. And with the clip gain line, you can drag it up or down to, once again, affect the sound of the clip. It's kind of the same thing as the fader, but it's a line. But one of the cool things about having a line to work on is now you can use the grabber tool to add breakpoints. And if you add 4 breakpoints kind of in a row, then you can lift the 2 breakpoints in the middle, and that will affect the sound in between the 4, but it will not affect the sound before and after the 2 outside breakpoints. So anyway, sometimes it's good idea to work in that way with breakpoints, but you can also get the pencil tool. And with the pencil tool, you can add little breakpoint, I guess, drawings. You could draw breakpoints. So here's the pencil tool, and I'm using it to draw different curvatures in my clip gain line. But it's time that we learn the keyboard shortcuts for accessing these things. And so I just want to drill it in your head right now. This is stuff that's going to be on the exam when you take the certification test. Shift and Control together are for the clip line and clip gain, because it's going to ask you that, and you're going to have to recognize these keyboard commands. Shift control is for clip gain and clip line. So clip gain is all about shift and control. I'm going to push those two down in my left hand, and in my right hand, I'm going to push the minus sign. And when I do that, the clip line will disappear and reappear. So the minus sign is right next to the equal sign. And if you push the equal sign, the clip info will appear and disappear. So what is the keyboard command to make the clip info appear? Shift control equals. What is the keyboard command to make the shift line appear? Sorry, the clip gain line appear? It's shift control minus sign. You can do them both together if you want. So anyway, that's a command to learn. Let's turn them both on, or let's turn the info on. Let's turn the clip line on. And there's one more thing to know about it, is you can nudge the clip line up and down with the arrows. Once again, shift control is for clip gain. So hold down shift and control, and then use the arrow keys, the up and down arrows, to increase or decrease your gain on your line. So you just use the arrow keys there. And that's called nudging the clip gain. And I'm just doing that with the arrows. So hold down shift and control, use the arrows, and that's how you work with the clip gain nudging.